We're in a 2009 Toyota Corolla with the dot key. The dot key can be identified by this dot stamped into the blade of the key. We're going to do a remote starter that activates from locking the doors 3 times from the OEM remote. We're going to get started with the disassembly. We're going to remove the 2 Phillips screws from the underside of the dash. I'm going to go ahead and release the lower portion of the dash by pulling on it and wiggling it. Sometimes it'll won't fall off in your hands. Sometimes you have to work it a little bit. We're going to unplug this single plug. It's for a some type of tire pressure circuit. Unplug that. We're going to remove the steering column cover plastic. We're going to insert a small screwdriver into the hole. We're going to push back and pull down to release the steering column cover plastic. I'm going to repeat that on the opposite side. Okay, we've got the cover plastic release. We're going to go ahead and remove it. Shut the key off. Going to apply pressure to the sides. We're going to remove the steering column cover. We're going to unplug the ignition harness plug. There's a release clip on the top. We're going to press the clip down and remove the plug. We're going to unplug the immobilizer also, but because it's a little hard to access because of this plastic piece behind the plug, we're going to go ahead and we're going to release the ring and take the ring right off of the ignition. So the immobilizer plug is right on the back of this piece that clips onto the ignition. So like I said, it's hard to get at because of this plastic piece right here. So I'm going to show you how to release the immobilizer. Right here we have 2 tabs. We're going to pull out on the tabs and get this to come off of the ignition switch. So I'm going to try to show you. A little hard to get the tablet up in there. So I'm going to go ahead with my pick tool. Just going to gently pull out on these sides because these can get pretty brittle too. So we don't want to pull any more than we have to. I'm sliding it up. Okay, I've got one side off. We're going to go ahead and we're going to get on the other side and we're going to release the back side here. So we're going to release the clip on the top of the immobilizer ring so we can take the ring off completely. With the immobilizer ring removed from the ignition, we can go ahead and we can unplug the immobilizer. We're going to locate our immobilizer plug on our T-harness. We're going to unplug the vehicle's immobilizer plug from the ring. Going to plug our T-harness immobilizer plug into the ring. We're going to plug the vehicle's immobilizer plug into the T-harness. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to reinstall the ring around the ignition. With our ring installed, we're going to go ahead and we're going to drop the rest of the T-harness down over this bar. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to move on to mounting our diagnostic plug portion of our T-harness. We're going to go ahead and we're going to release the diagnostic plug from the dash by pushing the ears in on the side, popping it out the back. We're going to plug our T-harness end into the diagnostic port. And then we're going to mount our diagnostic plug end from the T-harness into the opening. We removed the factory diagnostic plug from. This becomes your diagnostic plug access. In the previous steps, we unplugged our ignition switch, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to plug our ignition switch plug that we unplugged previously into our T-harness. And then we're going to plug the T-harness ignition plug into the vehicle's ignition plug port. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to route our harness behind the support bar here, and we're going to apply our system ground. We have a black wire with a ground ring. We're going to go ahead and we're going to ground the ring right here. So we're using our 10 millimeter, and we're going to go ahead, we're going to remove the 10 millimeter bolt and apply our ground ring. So I'm going to show you where the one and only required connection is for the vehicle. And this is the key sense plug right here. This will supply a ground when the key is inserted to the vehicle, so it knows that the key is in. So we can test for this wire with an ordinary test light. It's always present here at the ignition switch on all these dot key vehicles. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to probe with a grounded test light the blue wire, and you see it does the same thing as having the key in. So we're going to want to make a single connection to this wire. We're going to use our white wire with a black stripe, and we're going to make a connection here. You're going to be given a posi tap. Going to go ahead and we're going to unscrew the posi tap. We have a piece with a groove in it. We're going to slide the piece with the groove in it over the wire, and we're going to put the posi tap back together. When we do that, there's a pin that's going to pierce the wire, and it's going to provide a connection point for our incoming wire. Now the incoming wire, we have we want to strip about 1/4 of an inch off of the incoming wire. We want to make sure we don't lose this collar piece. We loosen the collar up. We take the incoming wire. You don't want to twist the strands or anything. We want the strands to be straight, just like they are when you strip it. Put it in the collar, push it up in there. You'll feel it go up in, and then tighten the collar. Now this will give us our connection without having to strip any wire. You can strip and wrap this connection if you'd like. The posi tap is what's going to come with the kit. From this point forward, we can go ahead and we can pair our module to the vehicle and test the remote starter. So before we start programming or pairing the module to the vehicle, make sure you do not have the key in the ignition. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to locate the 20 pin plug for our device. We're going to go ahead and we're going to plug the 20 pin in. We're going to plug the white plug, and we're going to plug the red plug in. We're now going to hold the program button down while we plug in the ignition plug. The 3 lights on the front are going to begin to cycle. We're going to want to release the button when we see a red light or red LED. Release the button. The light will stay red. If we make a mistake, we can go ahead, we can unplug it, and we can do it again. So we're going to hold the button. We're going to plug in the 6 pin, release on red. We're going to make sure we don't touch the button again. We're going to make sure the 6 pin is plugged in fully. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to slide the key in the ignition. When we slide the key in the ignition, the device should pair to the vehicle. You'll see an indication with the lights. So I'm sliding the key in. So we have our red light flashing. We're going to now turn the key to the run position. We're going to have our blue light flash out. This is an indication that CAN programming is complete. We can now shut the key off and remove it from the ignition. To test to see if our vehicle is recognizing the OEM remote, we will now lock the doors one time. The light on the device will blink one time. We're going to test remote starting. We're outside of our vehicle. We're going to go ahead and we're going to trigger remote start by locking the doors 3 times. Our engine is going to start. The vehicle will run for 15 minutes. We can shut the engine off by locking the doors 3 times. Our remote stays active while the engine is running. So if you noticed in the video that the parking lights were not illuminating, we haven't made the parking light connection. Some vehicles will require this and some vehicles will not if the daytime running lamps come on. If you want to do the parking lights, there's 1 wire left on the kit. It's a single pink wire. We're going to go ahead and we're going to run it up to the parking light switch located here. So we're looking up at the parking light switch right here. We're going to be connecting to this brown wire right here. So if you look, we're on the back row, I'll call this. 1, 2, 3 pins in, there is a brown wire. We're going to connect our pink wire to the brown wire. If you want to verify this connection, you can use your grounded test light, apply a ground signal to the brown wire, and you'll hear, and you'll see if you watch the dash that the parking lights are on now. So when we remove the ground, they'll turn off. This is the correct wire to connect to. I'm going to give you a close-up. Okay, so we've made our posi tap connection to the brown wire. I'm going to give you a best possible shot here. See where the brown wire is. Okay, so we're connected to a brown wire. And remember that these posi taps are not perfect. If you have a problem and you don't think it's making a connection, you can take everything out, remove the posi tap, and inspect the poke marks on the wire. You can reapply the tap, or you can strip the wire and wrap the incoming wire around. And again, I'll show you, there's the key sense connection. You have a close-up of that. This is for the key sense. Very important, the device will not program if this ground isn't present when you slide the key in. So if you're having a problem with the programming, this is what you would want to check. I put a support number on each module. You can shoot me a text and I will respond and help you out if you need it. We're outside of our vehicle. We're going to test remote starting. We're going to lock the doors 3 times. Now we've made our parking light connection. So we have our parking lights illuminating. Again, the engine will run for 15 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to shut the vehicle off.